Producer Nick tells me we've got some questions. Let's dive in. Okay, question number 1 says it comes from producer Nick, which is you.
Yes. So my question for you, sir, is what is your favourite part or letter of MEDDPICC and why?
Oh, that's easy. Talk about this one a lot. Decision criteria is my favorite. It's like having a favorite child. I shouldn't have any favorites, but yeah, it's my favorite because what you should be thinking when you're approaching any conversation with a customer is a few things. You should be thinking, by nature of you spending your precious time with that prospective customer, you should go in on the basis of my solution is the best for them. And if you genuinely believe that, then the decision criteria that the customer has should align with your solution. So your job then is to try and inspire and influence the customer to build their decision criteria around your strengths. If you're really good, you can also lay some traps for your competition there that you kind of build it around their weaknesses as well. If they have a decision criteria, it's probably come from a place that isn't great for you, either a competitor, maybe an analyst, maybe their own research. But the chances of it being very well thought out, certainly to the level of what you understand your category is pretty low. So for me, if you can get your arms around decision criteria, lead with it, inspire with it, don't react to the customers, be on the front foot with it, then that's it for me. That's why it's my favorite. It's the one that really can make the difference. Thank you. So the next question is a video. Oh, it's Nicole.
Hey Andy, Nicole Senna here. I hope you are doing well. So the question I have for you, has there been a time where you were in lockstep with an opportunity and suddenly there was an internal competitor or competition that ended up putting a halt in the process? And then what were the steps that you took to overcome this challenge and earn the customer's business? Look forward to hearing from you.
So there is an interesting example I have here for this question. It's a little bit unusual, but I think there's a really interesting lesson that I learned from this. So I was selling a marketing technology solution to a brand. My economic buyer was the CMO. And what's interesting about this story is a few months earlier, I was at a previous company and I was also selling a marketing solution to this same company, to the same CMO. So I had the same economic buyer, I had different other groups, the champion was different. And I'd kind of left that company and then joined a new company and had a new solution that I was selling to them, and they were very interested in buying it. The problem was the CMO said they didn't have the budget to buy both my new solution and the old solution that I was selling that someone else has obviously picked up my deal and was working on. But they asked me, what should I do? Because they said, you know both solutions, what should you do? And I said, well, obviously you should buy my new solution. So let's park that. I was obviously going to say that anyway. I'll be mad not to. I'll be wasting my time if I didn't think that was the best thing for them to be doing. Said to the CMO, what they should do with the other solution is buy the competitor's solution instead. And the reason why this is a good lesson is it shows the importance of the relationship decision criteria. Because what I said to the CMO, I said that whilst the competitive solution isn't quite, it's probably like 90% as good as the solution I used to sell, but the critical thing that I think shifted the destiny of that deal and allowed me to win my deal, winning over the internal detractors I had who thought that they should pause my new deal and buy my old deal, so to speak, was all around relationship decision criteria. Because I was able to say to that CMO, I said, look, if you buy the solution I used to sell, then you would be one of 100 brands like you. You'd just be one of 100. And of course, they'll look after you well and all that sort of stuff. But if you buy from the competitor to that solution, you'll be their biggest brand in the UK. And I believe that they will look after you accordingly, and they will, they'll want you to be their marquee customer. And it was that changed the course for that solution. And he ended up buying my solution and the competitor to the solution I used to sell. Real key takeaway I think there is the importance of relationship decision criteria. Whoever had taken over from me hadn't given confidence to that CMO that in this case he would be an important customer. The key there is just getting back to the decision criteria to make sure you're differentiating on all elements. So it says here, next question comes from a Mr. John Hodge.
Yes, so the question from John actually came up in our recent webinar, MEDDICC for SDRs. And the question was, how do you make sure you don't burn your champions when upselling?
This is one of those questions where it shows, for me, it shows the power of MEDDPICC. If you're going to be talking to an existing customer, as this would be about an upsell, then the value should be very clear. The customer should understand why it is you're talking about an upsell. First off, if it's an upsell, then you should have already delivered the initial value you set out to promise to deliver. And if you haven't, and you're talking about upselling, then you probably are going to upset some people because they'll be like, hey, slow down. We haven't even got the value from what you actually sold us in the first place. And so what the case is now is that you're trying to broaden perhaps into the account, sell maybe other modules or sell to other regions or whatever it is. You're trying to spread your wings. The point here is that your champion, by nature of being a champion, should have a vested interest in your success. Your success in this case is making that organization obtain more value from your solution. And so if your champion isn't seeing that vested success, you either need to do some more work with them to show them how it benefits them, or it could just be the case that that person is no longer your champion. This happens a lot where you do an initial deal and you have a champion, and then as the opportunity evolves, as the relationship with the organization evolves, you have different champions. So I would say it's less, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're at a dead end, and if you try to upsell, you're going to upset your champion, then you even need to work on showing that champion why they shouldn't be upset and what's in it for them, or if there's nothing in it for them, then they're not going to be your champion anyway. Oh, this is a video. Yeah. Oh, okay, hang on then. Please hold cooler. Oh, he's a handsome man, isn't he, Jake?
Hey, Andy. Okay, I got a question for you. What is the craziest, most ridiculous interview that you've ever been a part of or conducted?
I was actually only just talking to someone about this. I was once interviewing someone for an account executive role. Their background looked great. The companies they'd worked for were all kind of companies we like to hire from. This person actually said that they had implemented MEDDPICC into Salesforce, was one of the things that was on their resume. They had had lots of success. They actually also said that they used to play cricket internationally for the Netherlands. On paper, seemed pretty good. Definitely worth having a second conversation with. The only challenge we had was that a big part of his resume, his CV, had him for sort of 3 years and a lot of the success that he talked about at one particular company, for which we had 3 colleagues from that company. And it wasn't a massive company, it was maybe a 150 person company. I went to seek out my colleagues and they had no idea who he was. And so that obviously rang a few alarm bells, and I went to the next colleague, no idea. Third colleague, no idea. They started texting the group chat, no one had ever heard of this person. Went back to the recruiter saying, hey, there's something up here. Can you look into this? I'm pretty sure we were talking about this one particular company, had a very particular name, but can you just check that I didn't mishear? And from that point on, that person vanished. They've gone. They don't exist anymore. The LinkedIn profile has gone. As fun as this sounds, this keeps you awake at night. What were they trying to do? What was their plan? What were they trying? What's the con here? What was the con here that I managed to figure out, but not entirely? That keeps me awake at night, producer Nick, I'll be honest.
Me too.
Yeah, we'll do now, yeah. So thank you, Jake, for reminding me of that. Next question.
So Adib from CrowdStrike asked, how does one uncover decision criteria when the customer won't reveal their cards?
For me, it comes down to a couple of things. One is that the customer is unlikely to have a very good decision criteria anyway. We know that they're likely to be inspired from review sites or research they've done, or even your competitors. Park that for a second, park what they think their decision criteria is, and try and sort of approach it with an open mind to think about, well, what is the challenges they're likely to be facing? What are the goals they're likely to have? And how best can I provide them a solution that's going to help them achieve those goals and solve those pains? What you'll find is, hopefully, if the customer's a serious person, is they'll see you more as a consultant, more as someone that they can kind of learn from, and they'll start to sort of open up, and you'll end up in more of a conversation, and you end up sort of being able to kind of help them craft and curate a more open decision criteria, because no one should keep their decision criteria as like a secret. That's not going to help anyone, least of all the customer. All right, so the last question here. Oh, it's old Jessie Walker, who has recorded a voice note. Let me just bring this up. She knows how much I love voice notes, that's why.
Andy, I have a question for you. How can sales and marketing teams use MEDDPICC to create better synergy?
As you know, we love to best define MEDDPICC as a common language that you use across the whole go-to-market team, across the whole customer lifecycle. And that customer lifecycle often will start with marketing. It starts with the positioning, it starts with the messaging. Basically, what is it that your solution does for your customers? What better way to align marketing and sales than making sure that those two, the messaging and the selling, the value proposition goes hand in hand, so that marketing, they talk about the value the same way, they talk about the solution the same way. And for me, that's all in MEDDPICC. So it's very much a case of when marketing teams and product marketing teams and product teams are considering how they're going to create their positioning and messaging, they start by thinking about, okay, well, what is life like without our solution? And what is the pain that exists for our customers without our solution? What are the implications of those pains? And then what is life like for our customers with our solution? And what are the positive implications of that? What good stuff happens? How do we measure in the metrics between the good state and the bad state? Like what things are improving and by how much? And then how is it that our solution does those things, which is decision criteria? Like what is it that the customer needs to go from that negative pain state to that positive gain state? What is the actual criteria that we need? If we build that into our proposition, then we now have a value proposition that not just matches sales and marketing, but they're seamless. It's the same thing. It just runs all the way through. That's just value. Then we can talk about stakeholders. If marketing, product marketing and products start to think about the MEDDPICC stakeholders, they start to think, okay, how does our solution support the economic buyer's interest? How does our solution support our typical champion's interest? Different types of champion we have will have different interests. So how can we create different personas for different types of champions, different roles? And how can we make sure that we're looking after their interests in everything we do? Then there's the process side of things and just making sure that, marketing 101 is always right message, right person, right time. And so we can use process to make sure that we're thinking about giving the sales team the marketing support they need every stage of the customer's buying process. And you get those things right together, then everybody's happy, everyone's talking the same language, everyone's cohesive, everyone's collaborating. Love to hear more questions from you. Obviously, producer Nick did a great job of seeking questions beforehand, but if you have questions, and please get in touch, LinkedIn, Instagram, email, however you want to get hold of me, I'd love to hear from you. What I will say is, and the team doesn't know this, if you send in a video, if you record yourself on video asking me a question, then everyone that makes its way to the show will be awarded a champion slogan t-shirt, and you can choose nobody regrets qualifying out, or may your champions be strong, or seller, whichever one you prefer. We will send you a champion t-shirt. So I look forward to seeing your questions all very soon. Until the next time, may your champions be strong.